Redbreast, Green Spot, Yellow Spot. These are the names everybody reaches for when they want premium Irish whiskey, but they come with price tags that keep climbing every year. Redbreast 12 is pushing $75 now. Yellow Spot is creeping past $90. There are bottles sitting on the same shelf that deliver the same quality or better for significantly less money. Today we are counting down 10 Irish whiskies that are better and cheaper than the icons. Number 10. Hinch Double Wood. The icon it beats is Bushmills Original. Hinch comes from a relatively new distillery in County Down, Northern Ireland, and this double wood expression is aged in bourbon casks and then finished in sherry casks. It costs around $25 to $30, which puts it in the same price range as Bushmills Original. The difference is what you get for that money. Where Bushmills Original is light, simple, and mostly about getting the job done in a mixed drink, Hinch Double Wood gives you honey, baked apple, and a sherry sweetness that has no business being in a bottle at this price. The finish lingers with dried fruit and gentle spice, rather than disappearing the moment you swallow. The distillery sits on the Killaney estate near Ballynahinch, and they have quietly been racking up awards at international competitions. For an everyday sipper that you do not need to mix with ginger ale to enjoy, Hinch quietly outperforms one of the oldest names in Irish whiskey. Number 9. Glendelof Double Barrel. The icon it beats is Jameson Black Barrel. Glendelof operates out of County Wicklow, and their double-barrel Irish whiskey spends time in both bourbon and Oloroso sherry casks before bottling at 42%. It runs about $30 to $35, putting it right alongside Jameson Black Barrel. Jameson Black Barrel is a solid whiskey. Nobody is arguing otherwise, but Glendelof gives you more complexity at the same price. You get vanilla and toasted oak from the bourbon cask, and then a layer of dark fruit and nutmeg from the sherry. It tastes like a bottle that should cost $15 more than it does. The distillery sits in the Wicklow Mountains, surrounded by monastic ruins and ancient forests, and there is something about knowing your whiskey comes from a place like that, instead of a massive industrial campus. Number 8. Tealing Single Grain. The icon it beats is Writer's Tears. This is one of the most underappreciated bottles in Irish whiskey. Tealing Single Grain is made from 95% corn and 5% malted barley. They're matured exclusively in California Cabernet Sauvignon red wine casks. The result is unlike anything else on the Irish whiskey shelf. You get a beautiful red berry character, dried cranberry, a touch of tannin, and a sweetness that feels more like a dessert wine than a typical Irish whiskey. It sits around $30 to $35. Writer's Tears costs about the same and is a perfectly nice blend, but Tealing Single Grain gives you something genuinely different. If you are the kind of person who likes trying whiskey that does not taste like everything else in the category, this bottle is essential. It also happens to be one of only a handful of Irish single-grain whiskies you can actually find on shelves. Number 7. The icon it beats is Bushmills 10-Year. Tonnell is distilled at the Cooley Distillery in County Louth, using double distillation instead of the triple distillation that Ireland is known for. That extra contact with the copper gives it a slightly heavier, more textured mouthfeel than you would expect from an Irish single malt. It runs about $30 to $35, which is a solid $15 less than Bushmills 10-Year. On the nose, you get green apple, citrus peel, and a light honeyed sweetness. The palate delivers lemon curd, white pepper, and a gentle malty backbone. Bushmills 10 is a fine whiskey, but Tonnell gives you equal complexity at a lower price point, and that double distillation character makes it stand apart from the crowd. The name comes from a famous racehorse that won at odds of 100 to 1 back in 1876. The original whiskey brand was produced at the Andrew A. Watt Distillery in Derry, and it disappeared when Irish whiskey collapsed in the 20th century. Cooley revived the name in the late 1980s, and it has been quietly building a cult following among Irish whiskey enthusiasts who want something with more personality than the standard triple distilled profile. Number 6. Two Stacks Double Barrel Single Malt. The icon it beats is Bushmills 12-Year. Two Stacks is one of only 3 recognised whiskey bonders left in Ireland. They do not distill their own spirit. Instead, they source whiskey, carefully select and finish it, and create blends that consistently punch above their weight. The double-barrel single malt combines a peated malt aged in bourbon casks, a triple distilled malt from Oloroso sherry casks, and a double distilled malt from bourbon casks. All of it is non-chill, filtered and bottled with natural colour. At around $40, it competes directly with Bushmills 12-year, which runs closer to $55. The difference is that Two Stacks gives you layers. You get the soft smoke from the peated component, the dried fruit from the sherry cask, and the vanilla and cereal from the bourbon matured malt. Bushmills 12 is pleasant and approachable, but Two Stacks gives you something to actually think about while you drink it. Number 5. Kilbeggan Single Pot Still. The icon it beats, Green Spot. This is where things start getting serious. Kilbeggan is the oldest licensed distillery in Ireland, founded in 1757. Until recently, it housed a copper pot still from the 1800s that was considered the oldest working pot still in the world. A Forsyth's replica now carries on that tradition. Their single pot still expression uses a mash of malted barley, unmalted barley, and 2.5% oats inspired by recipes from the distillery's peak in the late 1800s. It is double distilled rather than triple, which is unusual for Ireland, and bottled at 43%. The oats add a creamy, almost porridge-like texture to the whiskey that you simply do not find anywhere else. On the palate, you get baked apple, lemon curd, hazelnut, and a gentle pot still spice. At around $45, it undercuts Green Spot by $15 to $20 and delivers a single pot still experience that is uniquely its own. Green Spot has the pedigree and the name recognition, but Kilbeggan has history, and the liquid more than holds its own. Number 4. Method and Madness Single Pot Still. The icon it challenges is Redbreast 12. Here is the irony. Method and Madness is made at the Middleton Distillery in Cork, the same distillery that produces Redbreast. It is their experimental range, created by giving the distillery's apprentice distillers creative freedom to push boundaries with unusual cask finishes and production techniques. The single pot still expression is finished in French chestnut casks, not oak, and bottled at 46%. On the nose, you get red licorice, fresh rosemary, and grated ginger. The palate opens with classic pot still spice, cinnamon toast, ripe banana, and a rich, creamy sweetness. At around $65 to $75, it is in the same territory as Redbreast 12, but many experienced Irish whiskey drinkers actually prefer it. The chestnut cask finish gives it a confectionery sweetness and a dark fruit dimension that Redbreast simply does not have. Even a Whiskey Advocate reviewer picked it over Redbreast. You are essentially drinking whiskey from the exact same distillery, finished in more interesting wood, for similar money. The fact that this bottle does not get more attention is one of the great mysteries of the Irish whiskey aisle. Quick thing before we get to the top 3. The data on this channel shows that over 80% of you watching right now are not subscribed. That means you are showing up for the content, but the algorithm has no reason to show you the next video. If you have made it this far, you clearly care about drinking better whiskey without overpaying for a famous label. Hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Number 3. Two Stacks Smoke and Mirrors. The icon it beats is Connemara Peated. Peated Irish whiskey is a small but growing category, and for years Connemara was essentially the only option on the shelf. Two Stacks changed that with Smoke and Mirrors, a peated single malt finished in Irish stout casks. Yes, stout casks, the kind of barrels that previously held thick, dark Irish stout beer. That finish adds roasted chocolate, toffee and coffee notes that play beautifully against the peat smoke. It is bottled at 48% and runs about $45 to $50. Connemara does a fine job as the original peated Irish whiskey, but it can sometimes feel one-dimensional. Smoke and Mirrors takes the concept further by adding that second layer of dark, roasty complexity from the stout cask. The founders Shane McCarthy, Donal McLynn, and Liam Brogan started the company in 2020, and they have been collecting awards at an almost absurd pace ever since. If you are a Scotch drinker who has been curious about Irish whiskey but thought it was all smooth and gentle, this is the bottle that will change your mind completely. Number 2, Tealing Single Pot. Still. The icon it beats, Redbreast 12. Yes, a second bottle going after Redbreast because Redbreast 12 is the bottle everyone defaults to when they want premium Irish whiskey, and the market has finally responded with real competition. Tealing Single Pot Still is crafted from 50% malted and 50% unmalted barley, triple distilled in Dublin, and matured in a combination of virgin American oak, bourbon and sherry casks, bottled at 46% with no chill filtration. It runs about $50 to $58 depending on your market. What makes this bottle special is the Dublin distilling heritage behind it. Tealing was the first new distillery to operate in Dublin in over 125 years when it opened in 2015. At its peak in the 1800s, Dublin had 37 working distilleries. Tealing is bringing that legacy back one bottle at a time. The whiskey has a spicier, drier profile than Redbreast, with cinnamon, white pepper, grapefruit peel, and a lingering muscovado sugar finish. If Redbreast is the smooth, crowd-pleasing pot still, Tealing is the one with more edge and personality. And the 25% virgin American oak in the maturation gives it a toasty, confident backbone that sets it apart from anything else in the category. Number 1, Boan Single Pot, still Pedro Jimenez cask. The icon it beats is Yellow Spot. Boan Distillery sits in the Boyne Valley in County Meath, one of the most historically significant landscapes in all of Ireland. They started distilling in 2019, and their first single pot still whiskies hit the market in late 2024. The PX cask expression is a single pot still whiskey made from malted barley, unmalted barley, oats, and rye, all locally grown within 25 miles of the distillery. It is initially matured in Oloroso sherry hogsheads, then finished in 60-year-old chestnut Pedro Jimenez Solera casks. Chestnut, not oak. Irish whiskey regulations allow maturation in any type of wood, a freedom that Scottish distillers do not have, and Boan is exploiting that latitude in ways nobody else is. The result is a whiskey dripping with raisin, fig, dark chocolate, and honey, with a creamy mouthfeel and a finish that goes on and on. Whiskey Advocate gave the PX expression 93 points. It picked up a double gold with 99 points at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. At around $69, it undercuts Yellow Spot by $20 to $30 and delivers a richer, more complex, sherry-influenced pot still experience. This is the bottle that made me rethink what new Irish distilleries are capable of. The big names from Middleton have dominated single pot still for decades, but Boan just proved that the future of Irish whiskey is not coming from one distillery in Cork, it is coming from everywhere. That is the list. 10 bottles that prove you do not need to chase the famous names to drink world-class Irish whiskey. The category is exploding right now. There are over 40 distilleries operating across Ireland today, up from just 2 a few decades ago. New ideas, new cask finishes, and new bottles are hitting shelves every month, and the quality gap between the established icons and the newcomers is shrinking fast. Some of these bottles will not stay hidden for long. If you want to try them before the prices catch up to the reputation, now is the time. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing, and we will see you in the next one.